You gotta tell me when you started.
We're live.
I'm Kermit the Frog.
Hello, welcome to the Boys Podcast. And I'm Stone. I'll be your host.
I'm Carson.
Yeah, he's just here, free writer. So
Yeah, sure.
we have two guests today. One of them being RSBL, and
Oh,
and we have a magician here named Logan.
I don't understand why I'm specified as a magician here.
Because you're a magician. That's how it works.
Abracadabra do.
Logan's Heroes.
Yep. So today we're gonna have a nice little topic of history, but kind of beam down into a specific part of a debate between Sparta and Athens. So we're gonna have two little sides here. So me and Carson on one side. We're gonna be defending Spartans. Why they're better than Athens, and RSBL and Logan here will be talking about why Athens are better than Sparta. So I'm thinking I'll let Carson go first. So Carson.
Yes. Go first on what point are we talking about?
Well, let's talk about let's think about government. What your civilization.
Okay, so government-wise, they were. Crap! It's right here. I just saw it. There's like a splash of oligarchy and something else.
Well, you see, guys. Carson here.
Could be due to the shape of his head. You see that thing?
Indeed, Carson does have quite the funky shaped head. So
what's wrong with his head?
Well, see, Carson likes to hit walls with his head.
Okay, you know what? Are we gonna? I can tell you right now that I'm pretty sure that I love Sparta. They're my favorite, and I've heard that doesn't mean it's true, but I've heard that they actually had women in their government to just piss off Athens, and I love them just because of that.
All right, so then
I think
so
it's time.
all right, so 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 we're saying pretty much for our side that why Spartans have a better government is because we actually they actually allowed women in their government. They showed ha what do you guys have over us? So
No women in our government. That's why it runs better.
oh dang.
Yeah, that is true.
Well,
I'm
they have
pretty
that
sure
over us.
I'm better.
But well, you see, to make up for that, they have a far superior army because their army was fierce and protective, and girls received some education, so they actually had more free. Women had a little bit more freedom than Athens. So
Ooh. Yeah, you know I'm on Spartan. Never mind. I can't help. I can't help Athens.
but also they had, uh, they believed that the mothers would be stronger and better, pretty much than Athenian women. So we pretty much Spartan women are cool.
In Soviet Sparta, women built like bear.
Ah, that would be pretty scary. So, what's the Athens government like? How can they be better than ours? Our truly overwhelming and
Give him the smackdown, Logan.
Okay. Well, Athens, it was a democracy. So basically, it's like modern day. They had people they voted on, At one point, it was groups, but then they narrowed it down to one single ruler.
With a single ruler?
I see. I see. Give me a moment.
No, they didn't have
Looking at my
protractors
book
back then.
here.
Understandable. So, while we're waiting on our wizard here.
What am I supposed to bring up now? I'm confused.
Okay, so in Sparta, I have, I believe,
Sorry, your
the.
time's up. All right, guys. So,
Oh my god! I found
Yeah,
the
leave the
rulers of
Discord.
Sparta.
leaders of Sparta.
That's what you
Rulers of
get for having a
Sparta.
big
It's
head.
not like Leonidas. I'm talking about like the names of them and what they are. There were for Sparta. There were the F4s. There were 5 supreme magistrates, one from each Spartan
F4s?
deme. Yeah, F4
Aren't those jets?
EFORS. Fun again.
Well, Sparta was ruled by 2 kings, and whoever ruled until they died or were forced out of office. So, pretty much, it's sounds like a monarchy. So, I mean, we have 2 really strong people governing this city state. So what would Athens be able to to have above us? Because we have 2 strong kings. That's pretty fearful, I would imagine. Besides having a military strength.
Well, the problem with having kings is once you're stuck with one, if he's a good king, hey, you made out. If he's a bad king, hey, you're stuck with him. So, with a democracy, they voted for their rulers. So if they didn't like one guy, how he was doing his job, then vote in the next guy.
I see.
Well, the weakness with Athenian democracy, though, is it had a contradiction in the sense of that it did not allow participation of a large section of the public, namely women and slaves. So you guys have had a lot of women and slaves.
Why you keep repeating yourself?
What?
Yeah, we are.
You
We
said
did
the
repeat
same thing twice: women and slaves.
Okay.
He's not wrong. He's not
Oh,
wrong.
okay.
Can't talk back.
Okay.
That's why life was much better in Athens.
Okay.
Shots fired.
You know.
Damn.
You know.
Let's talk about some military aspects here.
Well, we all know who's better. Like,
Who?
we can't just deny that.
Who's better?
Oh, Sparta. Duh.
What?
You ever heard of Thermopylae, even though wasn't all Spartans? I'm just saying.
Well, you see.
Did you ever hear of the Battle of Marathon?
Okay, you may be faster.
Well, hold on here. Let's expand on this a little bit. The Battle of Marathon. It was the marathon. That's where the Boston Marathon comes from. It's about 25, 26 miles, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes from. Is Sparta only fights on a full moon. So unless someone's got their pants around their ankles, mooning people, they don't march. So that's why they wore kilts.
Well,
You'd think this book would have the Battle of freaking Marathon on it, but
Well, the Battle of
especially when it's
Marathon, here's what happened. There was this one guy, and he ran that marathon. That's, the marathon is the name of the town. And he ran from there to go get help from the Spartans because the Persians were coming. Well, the Spartans, the great fighters they are, decided they only fight on a full moon. So they had to wait like 10 days or something like that. Well, they were on their own. So the the Athenians had the same kind of capabilities the Spartans had. They had the hoplite. But they were more of a professional army than the Spartans were. Spartans were great individual fighters. And as long as they stayed in their phalanx, which could, if they get outflanked by cavalry or something, they're in a lot of trouble. So there wasn't a lot of numbers with the Spartans. They were a close-knit group. They were fierce fighters, but they were mostly individual fighters coming together that did fight as a team rather well. However, Athens had more of a professional army, and they held off like 100,000 Persians at Marathon until, with only like 10,000, 10 or 20,000 men. Nobody's really sure how many there were, but that's a guess. So they held them off. They defeated the Persians, and they didn't really get a lot of help from the Spartans. So they had the hoplites, they had the phalanx, just the same. They were better armored than the Persians, so they did quite well, and they used their brains more than they used their might. What they did was they outmaneuvered them, and they kept them in place in Marathon and dwindled them down, because they're a foreign invader. The longer you draw out the war with a foreign invader, the less successful they will be in the long run, based on attrition.
Well, all right. But what age does Athens bring men or boys? Because Spartans, man, you guys, yeah, really good army, right? But are they trained at the age of 7? Because they're brought, men are only allowed one occupation, soldier, So, I mean, you're going to have quite the amount, So I feel if you're bringing them in from age 7, you're bringing in, not just, like you said, mighty warriors. I feel it also brings in, a lot of early, discipline, because at age 20, most become full-time soldiers. So from age 7 to age 20, that's 13 years of experience right there of training. Nothing but training. So, I mean, I feel that's a lot. And they remain in active duty until age 60, which I would imagine, not a whole lot would make it to that. But, I mean, they also wore large bronze helmet, breastplates, and ankle guards, and carried around bronze shield and wood. So, they knew
That was
their...
pita bread.
What?
Huh?
Logan, your turn.
Okay. So in Athens, the boys would start training for military at the age of 18, but when they are younger, they start learning how to read, to write, and philosophers, mostly taught by slaves. And
So,
this would... No, you go.
So you guys have educated slaves? Is that right?
Yes.
Well, I feel like that, if they're treated a certain way, you could have, an uprising. These guys, know how to read, right? They know how to do stuff, Our slaves, we can keep them underneath our foot,
Well,
What?
smart enough to
What
do
is
their
this?
job, but
Are you trying to make
too
Spartans
dumb to
sound
ask
bad?
questions.
Why?
No, I'm saying we know how to
You're
keep the
totally
slaves in
trying to
order.
say it.
So, like, what do you gotta do if you're teaching all your slaves how to, read, write, and whatnot, they could start, propaganda, whatnot, say they didn't like a certain ruler, if the slave, knew how, I mean, obviously, they,
Well,
they
somebody taught Carson to read.
well,
See here. I thought we were talking about military power, and I just
Total silence.
well, you see, Carson, military power doesn't help in the classroom like this morning.
Unless you're beating
so
up.
here's the thing. If we're talking about military power, and I just read this.
Copyright.
I just
We're not
saw.
allowed. You're not allowed.
Copyright.
It says
Get
that
out of here.
there were kings, two of them, and one controlled the military and the other controlled everything, well, politically, other than the military.
So you have pretty much your general, and then your political face. So I feel like that'd be smart.
The Spartans, that one. I have to concede that one for the Spartans because they did defeat Athens when they fought.
Yeah.
Eventually, they beat them. But having a king who thinks all about military all the time, that's a good thing. He's a more powerful military commander. When you have a democracy in a military situation, you always screw something up.
And it's not even just like that military king stayed at home. He also went out and helped them. He wasn't just, there giving orders and letting the man run or whatever. He went out there and
Okay, so
It
I'm
was
looking
Peter.
through, and as I'm looking through, I start wondering, why does Carson's head shape like that?
okay, you know what? We're not
If you're
even
talking
here
about
yet.
his profile
Wait, yeah, hold
Yeah,
on.
there's something wrong with that. This is a problem.
Are you talking about my square one in real life, or are you talking about the
Yeah,
current
your
phone?
real one.
All right, you know what?
I thought
This
that was
has
his real
gone
head.
too
That's what I was
far.
complaining about.
Let me right in my brain heart.
Your brain part?
Brain heart.
Well, it's not healthy
His
for you.
brain fart had a brain fart.
So, hello Haley, welcome to the podcast. You know what? He signed a contract, which means he's allowed to be bullied. Alright, so. Now
I
back.
never signed a contract in my life.
Yeah, you did.
Never.
You just don't know
You're
it
the
yet.
one who wrote my name. I never signed any contract.
Well, see, you don't know that yet.
According to your picture, you don't have any hands. It
So,
was a contract.
All right. So what's next? Or what are we going to talk about? The architecture, the sculptures. What next?
Yeah, there is something weird about his head, the architecture.
yeah, that's
Oh my
that's
god! Are
definitely.
we still talking about my head? Come on.
Well,
Look at the
architecturally
pharaohs
speaking.
of like Egypt. Their heads are weird. All caved in and stuff.
But they're not green.
You have a medical condition?
They didn't have many doctors back then.
Are you sure they weren't green? I mean,
So let's think about art now. Speaking of his head, so
the
So-
ideal form.
Spartan pottery and ivory were highly prized. Pottery from Laconia, the main region of Sparta.
Are you reading that off of Wikipedia?
I think
feel
you're
like
a
he
Wikipedia.
is, since he doesn't have a book. He's
Well,
just
you see-
Wikipedia, copyright, get out of here.
Ha, see, I'm not using
Wikipedia is not a
Wikipedia.
reliable source. It's not a
So
reliable source.
from, but it was discovered. It shows Sorry,
What was their pottery made of?
ivory.
Then it's not pottery.
Old men. Laconia pottery was not only found in and around Sparta, but in countries throughout the world at the time. So they when they used it, I'd imagine they added certain aspects to it to make it really good. Carson, what what all can you find in their art or architecture?
What can I find in this? Well, it's all about sculptures. I can see that there's, hold on, the nude. There's very much detail in it, and I don't like it. I feel very uncomfortable when I look at it.
Come on, Carson. You don't have
They're
to hide
very
it, but
detailed
It's because their heads are
in
normal.
various regions. Now, that goes for the Romans as well. But anyway.
so while Carson's
Romans.
staring at naked men in a book,
I'm not staring
let's
at nothing.
what do you have? What do you
Exposed.
guys have
I'm
about
staring at
Athens?
nothing.
Exposed.
I'm just very awkwardly reading and seeing like a
Reading? You're
No,
reading pictures. Hang on.
I'm not reading pictures.
They did teach their slaves to read. Now,
Honestly,
speaking of architecture, the Athenians were very big on the male body, and they glorified it because men were the center of society, the pillars of society, and strong men were prized.
All
You
right.
know, like you would prize a good stock of animal, you would prize a good stock of a man.
All right.
And they made statues of them and everything like that. So the male body was celebrated in the sense that that's why they created all those naked statues and everything.
That Carson
this
stares
is just
at.
talking about like an overall Greek stuff, so it's not specifically talking about Sparta or Athens.
Well, the Spartans really weren't that deep culturally as were the Athenians. Athenians had their big library. They had their many different gods and everything that they deified, and they also had the unknown god, which was an empty space of a statue, which I believe it was Moses or somebody, one of those guys pointed out that is the god.
All right. So apparently, not trying to run off topic.
This year.
Apparently, that thing coming out of his mouth on the picture is his tongue.
Wait, what? What are you talking? Oh,
His
yeah.
tongue has a tongue?
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's something really wrong here. We need to discuss
Kermit
this in depth.
face. Jeez.
It's very important that we talk about this.
Yes.
Leave Kermit out of this.
Now I'm curious. I mean, it looks like his head is a snake that's folded over, maybe. And that little snake is coming out of a fold.
It's just
Or is that
mesmerized by it.
alien head with a snake mouth coming out with a snake mouth?
Well, that would be understandable.
Is there any statues of this in Greek culture?
I wonder.
Repeat that again. I didn't catch that.
So, well,
God,
tell you what, there's a cartoon alien statue of Mike Wazowski
Who's that?
from Monsters Inc.
Oh, okay.
Who's Mike?
Okay, you're banned.
One of the Greek gods.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot
Don't
of
worry, I'm on.
there's a why is Yoda put underneath the Muppets? That's so weird.
Well,
Because he's a puppet.
the guy who did Kermit's voice is the same guy that did Yoda's voice.
Oh, dang.
That's a fact.
That's pretty cool. So we're at intermission right now, by the way.
You said we'd have intermissions
You
at
Haley.
25 minutes, and
it is
it's
25
9:03.
minutes. It's 25 minutes. You're at 9:03.
So wait, when is this ending? Just
Tomorrow.
because.
Yeah, we're doing it
Alright,
till
thank-
tomorrow.
Oh, she
9:30.
was so
Alright.
happy.
We're doing it till
It's a
9:30.
marathon.
Either 9:20 actually. Marathon. Yeah.
A marathon podcast. Goes so well with the Greek.
Nothing
So
like a Euro gyro.
yes.
That's what they should have used as
Honestly,
weapons.
I don't
The
think
enemy
our
be too busy.
chicken sandwiches are.
I know, right? Serving them sandwiches. They just sneak around, take over their place. Like, ha!
Sandwiches is probably one of the most important things in life that you could ever indulge in.
I can agree on that one. You know, I think our next episode should be about sandwiches.
Oh, man.
I think that would be
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, my.
You know what? Why not?
Oh, here we go. We're talking about art now. Actual pottery. It's too late now. Oh, there's some
You
market.
can't eat pottery. What are you talking about? We're talking about sandwiches right now. What's wrong with you?
Well, I'm
Why would I
talking
wanna eat
about
glass?
the book.
I'm
It's
going
finally
off
talking
topic
about
like
pottery
that.
and
We're talking about
architecture.
sandwiches.
Gosh.
Sandwiches sound great right now. I might be going. I might go get myself a sandwich.
We'll be like trying to talk, and next thing you know, Carson's just like silent. It's like, Carson, where are you? He'll be like,
I'm gonna go get myself a sandwich.
Well, let's think about the
Can I
name
have a double cheeseburger with a side of fries?
sandwich. A
No.
sandwich.
What's the perfect sandwich?
Perfect sandwich is his big green head in a vice. That'd be hilarious.
Alright, so apparently the perfect sandwich, and this is how to make the best sandwich, tasteofhome.com. Choose a good bread. I start with an unsliced loaf of some really weird bread.
Wheat?
Wheat.
Did you say wheat?
No.
Wheat?
Grab some mustard after cutting the loaf lengthwise. Smear mustard on the bottom slice.
How long does the
Next,
bread gotta be?
stack up the meat and cheese and add your veggies. So apparently you don't put the second slice on bread. You just put mustard on it. You know, you don't even put like mayonnaise on it. Just mustard.
That's horrible.
I don't know. So, who are these people? I'm gonna leave them a bad review. Bad sandwich. No mustard. Who wants to just have mustard?
Put the condiment directly on the bread because it makes the bread mushy. You always put it on there and you put something in between, like a layer of lettuce or something.
Yeah.
Very important. I don't understand why people don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
We're walking around for decades eating a bottom sandwich.
So, speaking of sandwiches,
Yeah.
apparently Spartans actually had a common food of fish and meat with a wide variety of animals and fish consumed. So not just, like whatever their native fish was, they made sure they got all of them. Honey, milk, cheese, and bread were very common, as were figs and wine. So they definitely had a very strict diet. Like they made sure, they got, protein, like Spartan bread. They did eat bread, although it was not it's not a staple in their diet. So it was not a main part of their diet. But they
Was
definitely
it gamer bread?
No, it's
I
wheat
have
bread.
to know. Oh.
I am toast.
I would show that meme right now, but I can't. So, what, what was, an Athenian diet like? If we had, honey, milk, figs, whatnot, what would,
Yeah,
the Athenian diet be? What would there? Because I'd mentioned there'd be a lot of wine involved. So,
there's a lot of whining.
well, that too.
Where's all the good sandwiches?
All right, dang. So, Logan, do you have anything to add on your side?
Besides Athens, food choices were very simple, which is wine, fruits, vegetables, and
All right,
fish.
your time's
You
up.
don't
Be
like
quiet.
bread.
Wow.
Listen here, you little.
Yeah, I'm not him, but that was just rude, Stone. And I'm always the butt of the joke.
Yeah, your time was
Come
up yesterday.
Yeah, your time was up years ago. Quite.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right. So,
Yeah.
I feel like, let's see. So why was, here's a question I should ask. I feel like you guys. Why were the Athens so important in history?
Well, they had a lisp because it wasn't really Athens. It was ass ends because they were a bunch of asses. They just
We
couldn't
gotta keep this
say it
PG.
right.
Come on.
Oh, yes. PG.
Can't hurt those little watchers' ears or listeners. Stop.
Don't worry, we only have like one person. But so during the 5th century
Well, they did
BC.
have a gay brigade where Athens. I can't remember what it was called. It's on the tip of my tongue. Where they had each soldier had an apprentice basically, but they were also lovers, and they fought fiercely together, and they did this on purpose because they were so close. They trained together, they lived together, they were really close, and they fought harder than anyone else. Let me see if I can find the name of it here,
Well, while you're looking for that,
because it's a fact.
so Spartans' army was actually feared by a lot of other Greeks, focusing on producing good soldiers, and all Spartan male citizens were part of the army. So back then, saying, an early,
Sacred Band of Thieves is what they were called.
here's a funny little Spartan thing. So apparently, at one point, people thought Spartans threw babies over cliffs, and
pretty sure
there's
that's
no
facts.
evidence of discarded Spartan babies.
That's
But
because they were sandwiches.
yeah, that's probably what happened. Logan.
Baby back ribs.
All right, so I'm like looking through. I just see. Here's a great meme for.
There is a dish called. They make it in a. And it's on the tip of my tongue. I'm sorry. Let's see.
Gosh,
Baked
Alzheimer's is
baby
hitting
or
you,
something.
isn't it? Alzheimer's hitting you, isn't it, Dad?
Jeez, I had it. And then you ruined it with that thing you posted.
What thing?
You know exactly what I mean, Stone. The viewers may not be able to see it, but I can.
So, You guys, you guys want to know how the great Leonidas died?
Thermopylae.
Killed in action.
Yeah.
That's all it says.
Thermopylae. Jesus. He died at Thermopylae. Or at least that's what the 300 says.
He died
He
at
died at Taco
thermometer?
Bell.
What?
He died at thermometer?
Thermopylae.
Thermometer?
All right, I know what you're doing here. All right,
So
and I don't enjoy.
is here's a question. Is Sparta a Greek god? The daughter of King. I'm gonna butcher this.
Do it.
Eurtas of Laconia, which represented the sacrificial tripod at Amy Clay.
Dutch baby recipe.
Oh my gosh, you actually found.
Yeah, it's on YouTube how to make it from Food Wishes. I always go to
Okay.
this for all my recipes.
Alright,
German pancakes is basically what it is, but it's called the Dutch baby.
oh my land. Well,
Oh my gosh.
I guess anything could be done at this point.
Well, you gotta do something with a little broth.
Ah!
That's okay. It's probably Carson's favorite meal.
No, it's
Always-
not. My
always
favorite
grow
meal
up
are
and-
Sammy's. All right.
Try to eat your sandwiches.
So guys, so I just looked up Carson's favorite meal because Google has it all right. So apparently, Carson likes swordfish.
What the heck are swordfish? Wait,
Okay,
Inside your head.
never mind. I know now.
I was about to say, if you don't know what a swordfish is. So,
Swordfish and chips.
yeah. So I love this. You can go onto Google, right? And you can literally ask what time is it. I love that.
It's hammer time.
So Carson, I found a nice little watch for you that you might like. It's got a small price of $23,000, but that's just like pocket change
This is
for you.
not. This is history.
Yeah,
Why are we
it has
talking
it's a geophysic
stupid you
universal
are.
time.
You should not. I like that.
Are we sponsored or something?
Yes, guys, we're
Are we-
sponsored
are
by
we at-
Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh, okay. So we're not.
Why would we be sponsored? I don't think
I
anyone would.
don't know. For some reason, I thought we would have, since you apparently are pitching me this watch.
Well, you see, our one sponsors, Haley
Sponsored
Alexis
by
Boykin.
Amazon.
So she has gratefully donated a single $1 to us. So
Yes.
this dollar is the start of our saving for $23,000. But don't worry,
It's going to Carson's education.
we're getting there. All right, we just need another 23,700. Sorry, $699. So we're close.
All this money is going to fix my head. All right.
Yes, head surgery for Carson.
We'll be videotaping a live plastic surgery with Carson's head.
While we're throwing sardines at him.
No, sardines are no good.
All right, we'll find a swordfish for you. Don't worry.
Okay, so back on topic. Or are we still like on an intermission? Like what?
Well, you see, intermission stopped a long time ago, and I think you're just trying to bring out intermission a little bit longer, Carson. I don't know, man.
I'm just saying.
What does Malone Levy mean?
What?
What?
Malone Levy.
Is this French? Because I took
Greek.
French and I still don't know it.
Parlez-vous français?
Come and take them. It's like on my shirt.
What?
I remember it.
Ah. That is when the Persians told Leonidas at the Battle of 300 there
Don't mind the
that
dogs, guys. They're
to lay down your arms, and he said, "Come and get them."
that's pretty good.
That's all Greek to me.
Man.
That
So,
makes no sense. Oh god, I love this book.
so I feel like we can kind of come into like a slowing point, kind of a ease into
A segue.
well, in a way, we're segueing into the end, I would call it. So, I mean, unless we have more to add in, but I have nothing. Carson,
I got nothing.
All
I've
right.
been looking through this book, and all I found was Deus Ex Machina. So, yeah.
Well, Carson, you keep reading about your stuff there.
I still think
To your
we
medical
need
condition.
Yeah,
All
your
right,
medical
thanks.
condition.
I need
I
that.
still think we
I
need to
it
resolve
fixed.
the thing with his head.
I know. I mean,
It reminds me of a green banana.
All right, fine. I'll change it. Give me.
no, don't change it. It's already in the picture. So
We need something.
We need you to harass you.
yeah.
I know, if you have something nice, I mean, what are we supposed to say about it?
Don't worry, Carson. You're stuck with that character anyway, so.
It's too late
Forever.
now.
That's all I know him by. I've seen him, so I'm imagining that's what he really looks like. I don't know.
Understandable.
Possible.
So, I think this would be a pretty alright stopping point. What do you guys think? Yeah,
Honestly, I think we're good. We can stop right now. We've got nothing else.
because we've talked about their government and whatnot, and I think who should choose whichever's better is our audience, and we can bring this up in class. We can show the
Go with
teacher.
Athens. They make better
I'm
sandwiches.
not even in your class.
Well,
You don't want me in your class.
oh my god, and you'd
We might.
probably make the teacher like jump out the window.
Well, always, I kind of, people tell me I have that effect on teachers.
Well then. So I want to thank everyone for coming out today, joining us for this podcast. Our wonderful guests. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Yes, I must thank you.
And
Anything I can do to point out that head.
and I want to thank Carson for enduring this wonderful
So much suffering.
40 minutes with us.
Yes, and I hope you like my changed PFP now.
Well, thank you everyone, and we will see you next time.
In the next video. Bye-bye.
In the next video.